Welcome back to the AI Ripple Effect podcast, everybody. Today, we are lucky enough to be joined all the way from Dallas by Kendra Jackson, who is the Chief Revenue Officer at Logicpath Logistics. Kendra, it's a pleasure to have you on the podcast.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
I'm really looking forward to hearing your story. I know that you have had a really interesting journey to where you are today, and you were going to share that with us. So why don't we start there? And by you giving us a little bit about your background, your journey to date, a little bit about the exciting things you're doing at Logicpath Logistics, and who your customer focus will be at Logicpath.
Of course. And so I've been in transportation for right at 22 years. Started my career in sales with the two big nationals and then transitioned into LTL for about 7 years and then went into the regional small package space. And I've been in leadership in that space for about 8 years. So it's been quite a journey, but going to all of those different companies, I was able to learn a lot about different modes of transportation. So it has brought me to Logicpath. I just started this week actually with Logicpath. I am a stakeholder in the company. And so that part is exciting because sometimes you go into companies and you look at them and like, what is going on here? Why are they doing the things that they're doing? And now I can actually be a part of that, build it from scratch, make it the way that I envision it should be, along with the other partners in the company with me, who I've worked with for probably over 8 years. And so they're very trusted partners. They're experts in what they do. So I'm very excited about Logicpath and what we're going to do. It's a little bit different than the other regionals or the current regional landscape. We are really focused on the packages that no one really wants or they're pricing themselves out. So our focus is more on the regulated packages. So you're talking about vape, you're talking about wine. We focus on heavier packages, those 25, 50, 75-pound packages, multi-piece shipments, store replenishments. And really what we're finding in the regional landscape right now, they are really shying away from those particular packages. We want to support that market and we feel like there's a market for that.
Awesome. Sounds exciting, and building
Good.
something from scratch. You can get it perfect, right? So excited to see more about what Logicpath are going to deliver. Obviously, you've got great experience and a breadth of exposure to different companies in the logistics space. So from that understanding of the market, a deep understanding of the market, what are you seeing currently as the main trends in the market?
So what I'm seeing, if you compare to pre-COVID to 2025, the market is really unrecognizable. Before COVID, the afterburn effect of that, before the infusion of packages from the Chinese markets with Shein and Temu, it's completely changed how regionals specifically have done business. And so what I mean by that is probably 2018, 2019, regionals pretty much played in their own sandbox. Everyone had a very defined geographical footprint. We collaborated. I was in Texas and a shipper needed California support, I knew the regional to tap on the shoulder and support California. And so it was very collaborative. Now it's very different. You've got regionals that are super regionals now that are trying to be nationals. So that's very different. And then you also have regionals that are now in each other's backyards. And so they're competing in that same geographical footprint. So there's still some collaboration there because you may have a regional new to the market that really taps the shoulder of someone who's established in that market and help them actually deliver their packages, right? Or expand their network. And so you do have some collaboration, but it's more adversarial than it was previously.
Wow, that's really interesting. And in that adversarial, competitive environment, are you seeing that yourselves, or I know your competitors, are having to focus on reducing costs and driving efficiencies just to be competitive? Does that have an impact on the price point?
So I think what a lot of regionals or what I've seen, truly it's a race to the bottom right now. The package profile that they're targeting are those under 5-pound poly bags, which makes sense when a lot of those carriers are performing under a gig model. And of course, if you have a gig driver, they don't want 10, 20-pound boxes in their Honda Civic, right? They want 100 pretty poly bags. And so the focus has changed, the target has changed for a lot of the regionals, but then also the price that I'm seeing currently in the market is not sustainable. It doesn't even cover the cost to deliver that package. So I think a lot of regionals that are chasing those under 5-pound poly bags are really trying to gobble up market share, hoping to drive other carriers out so there's not that level of competition. But eventually, rubber's going to meet the road, and they're going to have to cover costs because their service is going to suffer, and they're going to have to raise those rates in order to survive. And so I think you're going to see a shift probably the next 18 to 24 months where you're going to see those carriers that are really providing those cut rates. They're going to start raising their rates to provide service that customers are going to demand, and then it'll be more of a level playing field.
Right. Got it. And in that competitive environment of the experience you just mentioned, are you seeing any role for AI in helping organizations be more competitive, or is it something that's been adopted to be more productive and more focused on customer success?
So I think AI is definitely prevalent. What I'm seeing in the regional space, when I started, it was very antiquated. There was not a lot of technology in the regional space. And so you are seeing regional carriers have to rise to the occasion because customers demand it. And so you're seeing the technology standpoint of customer experience or consignee experience, where you've got the SMS texting, you've got the ability for customers to select their delivery window. And obviously, those things are super impactful when you talk about companies like ours, Logicpath, when we do the regulated goods that require signatures. It's very important to get the customer constantly buy-in of delivery window because you want to make sure that delivery happens the first time.
Right.
And the only way that's going to happen is if customers select that delivery window that they're going to be home. So that's super important. And then operationally looking at route optimization, I think that better and slicker every year. And that's important because, carriers that were using 100 drivers can now use 80 drivers because now you've optimized those routes. You've married up shipments. Maybe a customer has three different shipments going to one of their consignees. You can marry those shipments up. You get more packages per delivery stop, and you're not having to go visit that same consignee three times. And obviously, there's savings in that. Hopefully, the carriers are passing some of those savings on to the shipper, but it's definitely reducing cost.
And more broadly, are you seeing the use of AI, say, on accelerating the manual activities associated with things like driver onboarding being used within the industry? Is that something that's been prevalent?
Absolutely. When I first started in the regional space, it was taking probably 3 to 4 days to train a new driver. You literally can train a new driver in an afternoon because they're downloading the app. They're doing turn by turn directions. It's very, very easy from a SOP standpoint to deliver a package. Now, obviously, it's a tough job and they've got a lot of challenges out in the marketplace. But as far as being able to deliver the package and the process, it's very simple now.
Fascinating. Thank you for sharing. And in your view, and say on a scale from 1 to 10, 1 being not at all, 10 being completely turning around, how confident are you that AI is going to create measurable value in your new endeavor, say in the first 12 months, and then say a 5 year?
So I look at that in two different buckets. I look at it from a sales marketing bucket, which obviously I reside, right? And I look at it from the operational piece. I think from a sales and marketing standpoint, for me personally, it's really going to help me hone in on the verticals, the companies that I need to go have conversations with about what Logic Path does, right? And so I don't have to manually scour the internet. I can really kind of focus on chat GBT. I can find out what's going on with these companies, where they're headed in the next 2 years and have intelligent conversations with them. I can build our marketing presence and our website to understand where a customer's going on our website, what interests them, what our cornerstones fit into the vertical, which ones don't. But from an operational standpoint, we are in Texas and California. So it's extreme. Obviously, those are huge markets. And so we want to make sure that we are optimizing the routes effectively, what our line hauls look like, because we are going to outer reach areas, southern Texas, which is a place that most people stay away from, other regionals stay away from. And we want to make sure that we are optimizing that. The only way you're going to do that is through AI to predict what is the density going out to these markets. And so we can invest where we need to.
Awesome. Thank you very much. That's a very insightful view on these. So on your journey to where you are today, and you mentioned a couple earlier, what have been the big challenges that you've encountered and how have you got over those?
I think for me, it's more about the culture of the company, the ability to pivot and change with the industry. I think that is crucial. So I've gone from the national carriers, which They're pretty set in their ways of how they're going to do things. It's very hard to turn the ship. You're not going to make a true impact there individually as a contributor. But in the regional space, you absolutely can do that. And so for me, going into a company, I look, how can I impact change? Is the company willing to look at where the market is trending and be ahead of that curve? Or we're just going to ride it out and see what happens? And I've had to make some shifts personally and career changes, not because of the company, it was very solid financial company, but I did not feel like it was pivoting the way the market needed to go. And we were going to get left behind. And I just did not want to be a part of that. I want autonomy to be able to go and create where I think the market is trending.
Thanks for sharing. And if now, with that benefit of hindsight and all those lessons you've learned, if you had hypothetically a time machine, Kendra, and were able to go back, say, 12, 24 months, would there be anything that you would change?
Think that I would change my decision to do what I'm doing now, because I played in the space of the race to the bottom from a pricing perspective for those really small, lightweight packages, and fighting that out with other regionals. And it was an oversaturated market. I think in hindsight, if I could have started or been a part of Logicpath 18 months ago and really have a foothold in Texas and California 18 to 24 months ago, it would have been great. But I can't change the past. I can just be ready for the future. But I definitely would have started it before now.
No, actually, thanks for sharing. And I think your future, I'm sure, will be bright. And talking about the future, what are the plans, both from a product, geography, and growth perspective, for Logicpath over the next 12 months, say?
So for me, the focus, again, Texas and California markets, they have their own individual challenges. Obviously, Texas is a huge geographical footprint. So, and I obviously live in Texas. The regional that I worked with for many, many years was based in Texas, as well as our operational support. So we know Texas. And so I'm going to do a lot of focus on the areas in Texas that are not being covered at all or not being covered well by other carriers. That's going to be a huge focus for me in the Texas market. In California, the focus is really going to be on time definite deliveries, also regulated goods. You have a lot of wine, of course, coming out of California. So that's going to be my two main focuses. And then at the end of that, I want to have that connectivity between my Texas market and my California market because there's huge advantages of being able to connect those two markets together.
Got it. Well, it sounds like exciting times. I think you guys, with the ability to structure the business as you want, are going to, I'm sure, have huge success in the near term. So good luck with that. For the folks out there, Kendra, listening and watching, who are super keen on finding out more about Logicpath Logistics and the services you are providing, where can they find that information?
So you can definitely go to our website, Logicpath Logistics, and you can see all of our services. You can learn more about who we are and what we do and what we stand for, more importantly. We are all about the partnership. And I say this all the time, as well as our CEO. It's about the customer. It's about the longevity of the relationship. And then you'll also see us at the traditional trade shows. So I definitely will be representing us at the big trade shows coming up in 2026.
Awesome. Well, I'll make sure that we connect all of those to the description of the podcast so people can find out more about it. And I'm sure they can get information from your website around those trade shows. Sounds amazing. So listen, thank you so much, Kendra, for sharing all of the background and what Logicpath do and some of the lessons you've learned. It's been hugely interesting and beneficial to, I'm sure, everybody out there watching and listening. For you guys out there watching and listening, thank you for joining this episode of the AI Ripple Effect podcast. See you in the next episode. For now, Kendra from Logicpath Logistics, thank you so much for sharing. It's been a pleasure to have you on.
Thank you so much. Take care.